One working at 25 million. But I know the market, I know we are in the right direction. Just for you.
We've been pushed into bear markets by this lunar collapse. We were doing okay up until that moment or that week, but I haven't looked at it. It's obvious that it was an orchestrated attack on the entire ecosystem, and well, if the intention was to tip the market into to bear market, I think they've achieved that successfully, because that's I mean, among other things, I mean, you have the rate hike, you have the equities market crashing. It's inevitable, because as far as Wall Street is concerned, Bitcoin and crypto is risk-on assets. So yeah. So let's get started. It promises to be a very interesting one today, and I hope that we'll be able to finish on time. I'm really tired. I'm tired of watching the markets. I need to catch some breath. Anyways, welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly, everyone. To everyone on Instagram and everyone on the Zoom call, you're all welcome. Today, as usual, we'll be talking through the events of the markets. Apologies for not being able to show up last week, because a member of our community was launching a book, and I promised I was going to be there, so I had to cancel. I was going to make a video, but then I saw the video from what are these guys' name now? Crypto Coin Bureau. So pretty much everything I wanted to say was in that video, and even much more than I wanted to say about the lunar stuff. But I'll still run through it today, just to simplify for the common man about what really happened. So without much more ado, let's get started. I know the market has been bloody, but I mean, to assure you, the market has been bloody across board. If you were listening to Bloomberg or Reuters, you frankly know that it's been bloodbath on the streets, even in the equities market this week. S&P went to like 20-year lows. S&P is now bear markets. S&P has been going on has not been in bear market for pretty much almost 2 decades. So it's serious. The Fed is now reneging on their interest rates intentions. So as a result of that, there will be reactions, and the reactions are the things that we are seeing on the markets right now. And like I always say, the dynamics are correlated. How do I mean? Whatever happens in the stock markets is going to show up in the crypto markets. Whatever is happening to the US economy is going to show up in the stock market. Why? Simple. The world runs on petrodollar, meaning the world spends United States dollars for pretty much 80% to 90% of the transactions globally. So anything that affects the dollar will have a ricochet, or not ricochet now, a domino effect on other aspects of the markets. And as you may know or may not know, crypto is actually a major threat to the old US dollar establishments. And I've said it many times. I think I've said it in many of our live events that we've had in the Crypto Summit, about how the whole world went to war because of the democratization of knowledge. And I mean, Europe was in almost 100 years war because of the advent of the printing press, because all of a sudden people had access to knowledge, and people started questioning established theories and established philosophies. And of course, that led to change in power and power structures. So what is happening before our very eyes is the same thing. The only difference is that we're living right in it. So it's not apparent that we're in an historic moment and we're making significant history. If history is going to be written in 10, 50 years, 100 years time, this season will be talked about as a pivotal moment in the history of mankind, essentially. So I'm not surprised that we've been pushed into this bear market. As I said earlier in the year, there are a number of things that are actually almost like congregated to contribute to this bear market. One was the hyperinflation. I mean, it was eminent that the Federal Reserve banks were going to do something about the hyperinflation because there was basically too much money in circulation. I said it last year, I said it in 2020 as well, that over the course of the 18 months post-COVID, the United States pumped out 25% more in dollars that is ever printed before. Basically, they increased the circulating supply of US dollar. That's exactly what happened. All that quantitative easing and stimulus and everything, all that stuff is printing more money to solve the COVID problem or problem created by COVID. Now, while that appears to solve the problem on one end, it's like plastering up a festering wound. If you don't treat the underlying infection in that wound, the wound is not going to heal. It's just going to become more septic. So all the fallout we're having right now is as a result of the post-COVID event and the money printing, which has now branched into many areas. Part of the fallout is the war in Europe going on between Ukraine and Russia. I don't want to go into details of the ramification of the effect of that, but as I've said before, you can expect that there will be some degree of famine in areas during the course of the year, because those two guys are the largest producers of wheat combined in the world. So there's bound to be some effect. Wheat and cooking oil, especially. Apart from that, because of the problem with inflation and the equities market going on an all-time high forever, the Fed needs to increase interest rates as a way to rein in inflation. Well, let me put it this way. The Fed needs to push us into a technical recession. They need to cause a recession so that inflation will reduce. And that's exactly where we're going. I think we're already in recession, but we will not find out until when the figures come out next quarter, which is at the beginning of July. That's when the results for Q2 will come out. So that's when it will be apparent that we are indeed in a recession. But as far as I'm concerned, I think we're already in the recession. And the reality market is just a testament to that. So right now, in terms of fundamentals, definitely the bear market has commenced. Well, albeit prematurely, but as I said, there have been too many bad factors that played out this year, too many bad factors. As a matter of fact, I think the price of Bitcoin has actually been more resilient than how bad things have actually been. And you need to keep in mind that the the S&P 500 is very highly correlated with the Bitcoin price. So the S&P 500 is the stock index for the US, and it's been like that for almost 2 years now. And the reason it's been like that was the involvement of institutions. I've talked over and over about these things, but it's important to just reiterate for you to understand that when you see the stock market crashing, people, they were talking about Walmart and Targets in the US as stocks that usually are very stable. You see them crashing to 10-year lows, 5-year lows. Some of them have not crashed in the last 12 years. Target has not crashed since 90s in their stock price. So there's bloodbath everywhere. Let me just put it that way. And of course, that sharp decline on Wednesday, that sell-off on the market on Wednesday, just added to hold 30K, even though 30K is very, very strong psychological support. But I'm not surprised that we're not able to hold 30K. I think, given what has happened now, in which case we're struggling to hold 29, I think we're going to the low 20s. Is it a bad thing? But not necessarily, because you need to understand how the market behaves and how price action is not necessarily representative of true value. Whatever the price is at any particular time, it's just based on a large array of factors. It doesn't determine the true worth or the true value of any particular thing. So, for instance, you have Tesla stock, Tesla stocks, Netflix stocks, or Amazon, Google, all of them are, they've lost significant percentages of their all-time highs. Does it reduce the value of the company in the real sense of it? Does it reduce the value those companies bring to the market? Not necessarily. It might affect their ability to borrow more money in terms of increasing production or long-term cash flow, but it doesn't affect the intrinsic value of the company. Same thing with Bitcoin. If it goes to 10K, it doesn't matter. It just means that there are people willing to sell at 10K. What you should bear in mind is that this cycle is hard-coded every 4 years. Every 4 years, the production cost of Bitcoin has to go up. It is hard-coded into the algorithm, so the production cost has to go up. If the production cost goes up, then miners can't keep selling at a loss. Right now, as I've said many times, we are now below production cost. I will show you that when we get to technical analysis, but we're now below production cost for miners. So miners who are selling now are selling at a loss. So that's not a sustainable arrangement because miners usually don't like to sell at a loss. So miners right now are at a loss if they sell their Bitcoin. So we're getting a discount, even though there's volatility and there's blood on the streets, we're getting a discount across board. I think we'll get to the low 20s. I don't think we'll get below 22K, in my opinion. I think we'll still have some sort of a rally within these bear markets, probably this year or early next year. But I'm still thinking we might be able to get a short rally this year. But this current downturn is going to last for a few months because now the S&P 500, to which Bitcoin is highly correlated, is now officially in bear markets. So that means it will be very difficult for the price of Bitcoin to move unless and until it decouples. So back in 2020, when Bitcoin crashed because of COVID and went down, I can't remember how many percent, maybe like 60% on 8% on the day, because S&P 500 and everything crashed on the day. It went down and stayed down for a few days, then it started to go up. S&P 500 did not recover at the same rate. After a while, it decoupled completely from S&P 500 and then started moving till we got that rally in summer of 2020. So there's a possibility for that, where the price of Bitcoin decouples, largely because the guys who are using Bitcoin to hold their position on the stock market have emptied their Bitcoins, or they have emptied their pockets of their Bitcoins, and as such, they don't have the capital or the capital allocation to drag down the market with the stock markets. So that's a possibility. But right now, we're going to see some low 20s at the rate we're going, because Fed is still going to increase interest rates. If the inflation responds and we go into like a recession in Q3, then the Fed might say, okay, we'll ease for, we'll stop the rate hike for another, let's say, 1 quarter and look at it. Immediately, the Feds come out and say, we'll stop rate hike. The equities market will pick up immediately. I don't have enough time today. I will have gone into how, I don't have that actually. I think I need to create a slide that shows the interrelation between the equities market, the bonds, essentially the stock market, the bonds market, and the crypto markets, and all the other markets, commodities and real estate. You see, people with very, very large capital, or institutions with very, very large capital, I'm talking tens or hundreds of billions, they can't move that money around very easily. And it's not doing them any good. Actually, it's a liability sitting in the banks. So they're usually looking for opportunity to place that capital somewhere that at least will retain some value if it's not losing everything. So, and usually, something they can do at either no or low risk, meaning totally risk averse or very low risk. And the only vehicles that provide you completely, low risk are things like government bonds. So like many other governments, the US government has short-term, medium-term, long-term bonds. Bonds are essentially bonds selling the debt of the government with the hope that they're going to pay you back later. It's a very fancy Ponzi scheme, but I'm not going to talk about it today. But people are good at economics. You know how all that stuff works. But at the end of the day, it's a fancy Ponzi scheme in which the government sells the future in the present and gives you a piece of the future, which is already a devalued future, by the way. Let's not get into that because it might lead me into areas where I'm not the expert and I don't want to drag with economists. But what I'm saying is, because of the current situation that we have, capital allocation will go to risk of assets, meaning assets that are or vehicles that are deemed to be less risky will have the most capital. So you have money going to the US dollar or everything dollar related. So the bonds market in the US, the US dollar indices, the US dollar index today made a breakout, a 20-year breakout as well. So expect that we'll have choppy markets for the next few weeks to few months. Is it a bad thing? Not necessarily. If you have the opportunity to take additional side hustle, I will advise you. I'm taking additional side hustles right now, just so that I can increase my position on the market and be sure that I'm able to stack as much possible as I can, while we still have the market at the current discounts. So that's the overview. Let's move on to my assessment. What's going on? I think I've talked through most of this. The bull run is essentially over, especially because of this lunar disaster. I think we're not going to see 70K anytime soon. It was the war and all the rhetoric and everything that was milling around the price and the cycle before, but the lunar crash essentially sealed the coffin. And what happened with the lunar crash? Very simple. Lunar is an ecosystem of about, let me say, 4 main tokens. Let's put that, three main tokens. One of them is Luna. Another one is UST, and another one is Anchor Protocol. Now, UST, out of those three, is a stable coin. A stable coin is a digital token that doesn't change in price, that is usually pegged to either a particular currency or an asset. So you have stable coins like USDT, TrueUSD, USDC, that are backed by what you can call quote unquote real world assets. So USDT says is reserved or backed by all sorts of vehicles. USDC says its own is backed by bankers in the US. BUSD is backed by finance, market capitalization, and funds. So there are many of them. The unique thing about UST, however, is that it's an algorithmic stable coin, meaning it's not supposed to be backed by, the design was that it wasn't going to be backed by real life assets. It was going to be backed by digital gold. Like Moreau puts it, he said there is no better way to give a middle finger to traditional finance than the Terra ecosystem or the Luna ecosystem. And why is that? So the way the Luna ecosystem is set up is that for you to mint the UST token, which is the stable coin, you need to burn Luna. And for you to burn Luna, of course, you need to buy it. So that created a market for Luna, and Luna's demands continually went up. Until May the 21st, when it started dropping from $100 essentially. So the price of Luna continually increased because the demand was increasing. And what was driving this demand? The UST demand. People wanted to buy UST. Why did people want to buy UST? There was a DeFi platform that was offering a yield about a yield of about 20% APY on Anchor Protocol, which is the DeFi protocol. So because of that platform's yield, 20% is attractive across board in a year for a passive income vehicle. That's very, it's high risk, but it's still very attractive, 20% per annum. So major investors, major institutions, major whales had a lot of investment in the Luna ecosystem by staking their UST on the Anchor protocol. I don't want to go into the details of what happened, but to give you a very high level summary of what happened, somebody knew about what was going on within the Terra ecosystem, how they were trying to solidify their asset base by acquiring Bitcoin to back up their UST reserve. Because what he meant was that they will never need a physical asset or fiat currency to back up their UST reserve. So there seemed to be an insider info because the timing of the event, and you know, I said it from 2 weeks ago that the timing of the events were too accurate and too perfect that he had the handwriting of an attack. And at the end of the day, for people that have done their forensic analysis already, there was a definite coordinated attack to bring down the ecosystem. One, because as you can see, it has forced bear markets into play. Two, it's going to give traditional finance leverage, because traditional finance is not going to come around and say, hey, you see all these crypto things, you know, we need to regulate it and all that and all that. So they are going to walk through the regulatory arm and ensure that what they want is what's being done. So they attacked the ecosystem in pretty much a three-pronged way. One was they pulled a lot of reserve of UST out of Anchor Protocol. At the same time, somebody started selling, market selling very huge volumes of UST on the Binance platform, the exchange. Now, that triggered a run on the market. It's like, you know, somebody saying, like somebody saying in Nigeria, Zenith is going to go bust tomorrow. And, you know, it becomes a meme and everybody starts running around and saying, they're going to go bust. What are we going to do? And people start, you know, trying to get their money out. Because banks don't hold everybody's money at the same time. There's going to be a problem because the banks can't pay everybody at the same time. That's exactly what happened. So that triggered a cascade effect in which everybody wanted to withdraw their Luna. And the only way to withdraw your Luna is withdraw your UST, sorry. The only way to withdraw your UST is to sell it back to Luna. Unfortunately, the algorithm that ties Luna to UST is a bidirectional algorithm, meaning if you want to sell Luna, if you want to buy UST, you burn Luna. If you want to sell UST, you create Luna. So that rapid drawdown on the demand for UST led into, you know, a deluge of supply of Luna all of a sudden. And of course, those same actors, or well, their co-conspirators, were also selling off Luna as well in the derivatives market. So at the end of the day, it was like a domino effect that eventually dragged down the price. I mean, the foundation, the Luna Foundation, that was the not-for-profit foundation that was in charge of managing their reserve, they sold 80,000 Bitcoin to defend the value of UST, but it just couldn't keep up with the demand. So it was unfortunate, but that's what happened. Some people felt, well, some people said, oh, the founder was a fraud, that he rug pulled and all that. But you need to understand that there are major venture capital funds that invested in Terra ecosystem. People like Galaxy Digital. So they are not, you know, it's not small money, or it's not, you know, any, as they say in Nigeria, anyhow money that's invested in the Terra ecosystem. It's serious smart money that's invested in the Terra ecosystem. So it wouldn't have rug pulled them. I mean, it's probably still going to be in a problem, because I understand that some people have been already filing lawsuits, but it wouldn't have been able to rug pull because it's a corporate entity, you know, the corporate financiers are backers. But my thesis and what has turned out to be the analysis of most analysts is that there was a coordinated attack by traditional finance to deflate that ecosystem and cause a crash. One, because it will slow down the pace of decentralized finance, the evolution of decentralized finance. And two, it tips the market into bear season and gives opportunity for corporate investors to latch on and, you know, buy for cheap and accumulate. By the way, this is not a theory, conspiracy theory. This is, I'm reeling out the facts, confirmed facts as of today about what happened with the Terra ecosystem. Of course, I was affected like many other people, but some like somebody said, a billionaire in Nigeria, I said they call us billionaires because we have lost millions. That's if you're a millionaire, it means you've lost hundreds of thousands. So you need to understand that taking a loss is part of it's part of the journey. And you shouldn't, like I told somebody earlier, so you shouldn't pine away because you've lost money. Money is a variable. As long as you're alive, you can always make it back. So I think that's the advice I'm going to give to anyone that's lost significant amount of money like myself on the Luna ecosystem. In other news, relative to that news was the issue of central bank digital currencies. And if you go back to this story of Luna, you find out that the very next week, Monday and Wednesday, the US started talking, the regulator started talking about how they're going to regulate stablecoins. So it was obvious that there was a hatchet job, most probably by Wall Street bankers, to tear down, because if Terra continued along that trajectory, I tell you, there will be no savings in the banks in the next 48 months, because they were getting a lot of traction and trust in the ecosystem for, getting return on their investment. So I wasn't surprised that immediately after, that happened, they came out and started posturing about, regulating stablecoins and all of that. Like I've said, and I've always said, this is a fight for democratization of money. And the powers that hold incumbency are not going to give it away just like that. The good thing, though, is that this is going to make the ecosystem stronger, because the next person that tries to build an algorithmic stablecoin is going to build an hybrid that has its roots in traditional finance, but also projects into DeFi. But I mean, that's a discussion for another day. In another news, we have our friend Michael Saylor. Of course, the press trying to ridicule him that his Bitcoin holding is now about $80 million, so they're about in the loss. And I like the response he gave them. He said, well, that he didn't buy Bitcoin because he wanted to sell. That he doesn't mind buying at the top of the market. That he's not in it for a short-term play. And I've always said it, that if this guy is alive 10 years time, he might be the richest man on the earth. Honestly, if he's by any means alive in 10 years time, it's very high possibility that he will probably be the the richest person, because in 10 years time, Bitcoin might be $1 million. And the guy said, yeah, he thinks Bitcoin is going to millions. And people need to understand that it is not the value of Bitcoin that has gone down. It's the value of equities market that has gone down, making people to sell off on their holdings. So 1 Bitcoin is still 1 Bitcoin. 0.1 Bitcoin is still 0.1 Bitcoin. It is the dollar value that has gone down because the US dollar itself has gained value. And as I've explained, the US dollar itself has gained value because the government of the US has, quote and unquote, orchestrated a show of force in many ways. One is the rate hike. Well, you can say, yes, they needed to attack inflation. Yes, on the one hand. On the other hand, the very act of US supplying weapons to Ukraine is a proxy war. Technically speaking, US is at war. When US is at war, there's a lot of manufacturing going on. So naturally, the economy is usually booming in that particular sector. So technically speaking, the US is as strongest as it has been in the last 20 years. So right now, as long as that persists, we're going to have this. But what will happen is we're going to get into technical recession. Then we'll have to resume printing money. Then the true value of Bitcoin will come back again and prices will skyrocket. I think we'll see that within the next 12 to 18 months. Meanwhile, whilst all this is happening, I just needed to bring up this lastly. Goldman Sachs and Barclays are buying the dip. It's the same way that back in 2018, when the chairman of the CEO of Goldman Sachs was saying on, I think, was it Reuters on Bloomberg, that if he found any of his traders involved in Bitcoin, that was going to sack them. That weekend, the Bitcoin price dropped like 30%. That weekend, his traders, the very same traders, were buying up in very huge quantities. for Goldman Sachs. So again, incumbency is never going to feel safe, giving over power. You know, as they say, power is taken, it's not given. So this whole setup, this is crypto technology is taking power away from the established financial systems. That's what it is at the core of it. Unfortunately, it's not controllable. The parts that are controllable are the parts that are being attacked right now. So all this Terra ecosystem stuff, those ones are, they are tokens, they are ecosystem tokens of lesser blockchains, if I may use that word, than Bitcoin. Bitcoin can't be attacked. I mean, Bitcoin has crossed over the threshold of being attacked. So now nobody can attack Bitcoin the same way they will attack all the other networks, because it has grown in value and in size beyond anybody successfully being able to attack, at least not in the next 10 to 20 years. Maybe in the next 50 years, some people will come up with some AI super machine that will try to create a 50% attack, as they say. But right now, you need too much electricity and computing power that anybody or any entity can afford to try to attack in the attack. So yeah, the big boys are loading up and abiding the deep. I just thought I should bring that to your attention. In terms of our fear and sentiment, you can see we were, the last time we talked about this, we were at I think 22. Now we're at 13. Yesterday we were at 10. We're almost going to 9 yesterday. What I would say though is that the market started declining when the fear and greed index got to 95. So I would say watch out for fear and greed index whenever it touches home. Whenever it comes below 10 and gets to 5, that might be the end of the bear markets. You can quote me on that one. I think it's quite reliable. I've said it many times that fear and greed index is actually very solid fundamental gauge of the markets. It has been very, very reliable for the past 3 years. So where are we in terms of I think we are very close to capitulation now, to be honest, because now the price is just heading down. I mean, some people might say, yes, we actually have reached capitulation. If we're not there yet, we're very close to capitulation at this point. What does that mean? It means that most of your crypto holdings will have lost value anywhere between. So you're going to ask me, what do I do? I'll talk about what you can do. Just give me a moment, I'll come to that. But understand that this is where we are in the market right now. This is a very good place to buy, because when this happens, and we get to a position where, most of the things have lost almost 90% of their value, it's a good time to do a deep dollar cost average. So like I always say, if I bought Ethereum at, I can't remember what Ethereum's peak price was. I think it was $4,000 something dollars. Let's say I bought Ethereum at 4,900. Let's say I bought Ethereum at 5,000. Now Ethereum is selling for 2,000. If Ethereum gets to 1,005, and I had one at 5,000, if I bought another one at 1,005, my total exposure is 6,005, which brings my average cost to 3,250. If I double down at 1,005, just saying, it means that I now have total exposure 8,000 on Ethereum, one at 5,000, two at 3,000, essentially. If I bring that down, that will give me 2.3. Yeah, that will bring my average cost to 2,300. By the time Ethereum goes back to all-time high, I will at least have doubled my holdings of Ethereum. And that's just Ethereum. There are many other low cap or medium caps that have flattened out. I mean, I was looking at one coin yesterday and I saw that my portfolio had lectured, that particular coin, my portfolio had lost like 90%. So if it's a valid coin with a valid project, it's a good time to start dollar cost averaging. Very good time to start dollar cost averaging, actually. So how do you know a good coin? How do you know a valid coin? Subject of another discussion. Raoul Paul said, wealth is made in bear markets. it just becomes apparent in the bull market. So if you see anybody flexing in 2024, 2025, know that now is when they started buying. So understand that and know your piece. If you've bought if you bought Shiba Inu and many other meme coins, I would advise you sell them. It's not a financial advice too. When I was selling my Shiba Inu last year, I mentioned it to everybody, and I explained clearly why I was selling it in November last year. It's never going to get back to all-time high. Never going to get back to top 10. That's if it doesn't die completely before the next bull run. But understand that many of the coins that are around now will disappear from the surface of the earth in the next 24 months. So if you're going to start buying afresh now, make sure that you're buying solid ecosystem coins and Bitcoin. And probably Ethereum. Yeah, Ethereum. Those are the ones that I think are worth your while. In terms of technical analysis, the price still looks treacherous. Based on my analysis here, downside target is 23,000, plus or minus 1 or 2,000, plus or minus 1,005. Let's see. On the daily charts, yeah. On the daily chart, it looks pretty much the same. And there was this line has been what everybody has been shouting about, okay, this being the the support that Bitcoin has had for the last 2 years, no, 1 year actually, since we crossed over the 20 region. That this 29,000 level has held, and now that level is no longer holding. Yeah, I agree. I think when we get close to 20K is when final capitulation. By that time, everybody will exit their position and sell off. Then the price will start climbing back up. Of course, it's the stock market. You can see the stock market. This is the S&P 500 charts. The S&P 500 is showing wicked decline. Like it's been declining since. Okay, that's a 4-hour chart. Let me allow that that's daily chart to load. But it's been declining massively for the past few weeks. And as a matter of fact, this is the lowest the S&P 500 has been. I don't know why it's not loading. This is the lowest the S&P 500 has been in 20 years now? In over a decade, sha. So it's important to keep this in mind when considering entering or I told somebody, if it's not money that you actively need, then you don't need to worry yourself seriously, except you have some fringe coins that don't make sense and you need to sell them off. In terms of how to survive the market, which is what I said I was going to talk about. A few things. One, most of your shit coins are going to die completely. So you're better off selling them off now into stable coins. Two, consider dollar cost averaging Bitcoin and major altcoins. What are major altcoins? I'm going to show you now. And the funny part is that the major altcoins today might not be the major altcoins in 4 years' time. But hey, this is what we have today. Anything sitting outside, and please don't add Dogecoin to it. Dogecoin is only here because of Elon Musk. If Elon Musk is not alive in 4 years, Dogecoin will be completely gone. So anything sitting in top 9 right now has potential to still be around in 4 years' time. I mean, Bitcoin for sure is going to be around. Same with Ethereum, same with Tether, and same with USDT. Most probably Binance, since nothing happens to him, he probably will still has to be around. XRP, yeah, XRP is going to be around. In my opinion, I think XRP is like a Shiba Inu with some better functions. And because it made a lot of people rich in 2017, it has become a darling of many people. So there are a lot of holders that are still holding tightly to the XRP. So I don't have XRP. I never believe in XRP so much. I don't like Cardano as well because it doesn't move so much. I would rather have BNB in my bag, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Solana. Another consideration would be Avalanche, Polkadot, and Matic. Tron, not sure about Tron, but Matic definitely. Of course, Kronos, CRO definitely, and definitely FTX. This guy is going to do some wonders in the years to come. So those are the ones. Okay, yeah, Near Protocol. I believe Near Protocol is a strong project. Those are the ones that I think are most likely going to still be around. In terms of categories, so yes, let's go to metaverse categories. I expect that even though they go down now and they become cheap like debt water, I think they're still going to do well in the years to come, especially if they have a strong project. So for instance, I'm sure of Engine. Engine has a strong team. I'm sure of Axie Infinity. I'm sure of Decentraland and Sandbox. They belong to the same entity. They have a lot of corporate backing, and I'm sure of Stacks. Stacks has a solid team as well. I'm not sure of Ape. I've not really researched Ape. I'm sure of Ontology as well. I know Illuvium, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how strong they are. So in terms of category, yes. Polkadot. I agree that Polkadot is a strong ecosystem coin. The only problem is that they failed to deliver. They had a lot of roadmap milestones lined up for the last 12 to 18 months. Many of them did not come to pass. So even though they'll still be around just like Cardano, I think their growth will be dependent on the growth of the Bitcoin market capitalization and not of their own intrinsic value, if you get what I mean. So yes, it's still a good buy, but I'm not phased by the solution itself. That's my recommendation for this season. If you want to earn on your what's it called, on your holdings, another opportunity is to go and stake them. So you have staking platforms like Celsius, Nexo.com. If you want the link, I can share referral link. They will give you some stuff that you can stake your crypto on, so that you're not just holding them indefinitely, and you can earn some. I mean, they might not be fantastic, but of course they'll be better than bank returns, definitely. But you gain more of the same crypto, if you get what I mean. So if you stake for 2 years, for instance, and it's going at 6%, it means that if you compound for 2 years, you get what's that? My math is not too good, but you definitely get more than 12%. You get what I mean? Of the same token, and then if the token gains in value, you gain exponential value as well. So that's that for my update for today. If you do have a question, please pop it up. So MK, please, I saw your question. Are you in the WhatsApp group? If you're in the WhatsApp group, I will share the link on the WhatsApp group. Please respond on the chat if you're in the WhatsApp group, so I can know. For everybody on the WhatsApp group, I will respond with the links for staking options on the WhatsApp group. If you have any question on Instagram, you just type it as well, and yeah, I will answer you. If you're on Zoom, you can unmute your mic, by the way. Okay, so I guess, okay, Kaiba. You see, I have a problem with Kaiba, and okay, let me show you Kaiba. I have a problem with Kaiba. Kaiba changed from the original KNC. So I'll show you now. Why is it not showing? It's not like the cup. It's just he has his own mind. Interesting. Oh. Okay, there's something wrong here. I don't know what is wrong here, but KS
it behaves like that occasionally, but it will come. Okay, it's there now.
Okay, let me just go to CoinMarket. I can't get it. So Kaiba changed, they did a coin swap. They did a coin swap that changed the value of 30% balance without bank receiving. Mayokun, which country are you talking? Yeah, are you from the UK? If you are from the UK, there are various options to fund your crypto account outside of bank direct to Binance. As a matter of fact, Binance has opened up direct transfer. So Mayokun, you have your mic on. You want to ask the question?
Yes, I'm in the UK. I have tried just this afternoon twice, and it's failed. I had tried.
Who are your bankers?
Santander, TSB.
Okay, so what you need to do is I'm going to send you. I'll send a link for Swissberg on the WhatsApp group as well. You're on the WhatsApp group, right?
Yes, I am. Yes,
I'll send a link for Swissberg. Download Swissberg app. We'll ask you for all the shenanigans about setup and KYC. Once you download Swissberg, then it will ask you to tie in your account to Swissberg. So Swissberg has a holding company that is not a crypto company in the UK. So that company, when you send, it will give you a code, the code and the reference. When you send with that code and the reference, it ties your bank account to your app account. And then you can send directly. It arrives like normal faster payments. I use Santander to connect to that particular Swissberg account, and it works fine. So what I then do is, if my final destination is Binance, I can then buy BNB on. So I can buy BNB, I can buy USDT, but USDT is usually costly in the cost of transfer. So I buy BNB. BNB is cheaper to transfer. Then I send it across to Binance. If I want to put it in Binance, if it's not in Binance, then I send it to wherever I want to send it.
Okay.
So I'll send that. I'll send that tonight.
Okay, then. Thanks.
Yeah.
CRO too has the same service.
Yeah, CRO, Crypto.com has the same service as well.
Yeah.
I've not used Crypto.com in the recent time. Funny enough. That's Swissberg loan is too. Even though they charge me when I want to make withdrawals, but it's too sweet. Like it lands there like that. It doesn't take up to. In fact, if there is no traffic or anything, it gets there almost immediately.
The same thing with CRO.
Ah,
CRO is even free.
I didn't even know that. It's, they probably don't.
They call their UK company Foris or something like that. Yeah, Foris.
Yeah, so that's the trick that most of them are using. So Swissberg also has SW something. So you can't see any crypto in there, so you can't hold them. Yeah, I'll try that CRO. I've not used them in a while.
It's very, very fast.
Okay, I'll try it out. I'll let you guys
within 3, 4, 5 seconds. You are through.
Interesting. I'll try it out and let you guys know. So KNC, to your question, Dr. Leary, I don't know what they are doing, to be honest. So you can see before now there was KNC Network Crystal. This was the original token, this legacy. Now they've come up with this one. And it's I mean, they do have a very strong whale community because the prices are always pumping up and down. Anytime Bitcoin moves 1%, you see KNC moves 5%. So if you're into spot trading or you want to learn spot trading, KNC is always a good one. Anytime the price dips, just buy KNC because you know that if the Bitcoin price rebounds by 1%, KFC will do 5%. But frankly, I don't know what they're doing. To be honest, I don't know what they're doing. I just know that, that coin always pumps up. And because at some point I set an alert on my crypto.com app for it. So anytime, there's a price jump or drop, I always see KNC shoot up, and the price jump and is always significant. So if you take, this is today, for instance, so the price has been 280, it's been 240 at some point today, 280, now it's 248. So the price jumps around quite a lot, but I don't know what they're doing. I know it's an Ethereum-based token, but
last week it was around 1.1.
Yeah, so it jumps around a lot. It looks like a very rich trading, stuff, but yeah, this DeFi, I don't know what they're doing. I know this. I'm going to try them out. Maybe I should try them and not judge them. But it jumps quite a lot for an ordinary token. So I guess I have to try them out and find out if they are what they say they are. But yeah, it does jump quite a lot. I've not researched too much about the team. But what tipped me off them was I had some old tokens, and then when I had to switch it, I lost a lot of the old tokens. I just sold off immediately. Since that time, I've stopped following them. But yeah, if the team is good, they'll probably still be around. But just understand that if you want to get rich in crypto, now is the time to buy. Frankly.
It's for we small boys. So leave it alone. No, don't let Dr. Lalere know.
And I also want to ask if there's any update concerning this Savannah that we bought there. Because I have some guys in Nigeria here that said they are following them, and I learned that they are trying to develop their mainnet, and perhaps they are holding one conference in Dubai currently. So they about 3 months ago, I learned that it was listed on Latoken exchange, and it was listed at $100. So within short periods, some guys were able to transfer some, and they were able to make chunk of money. But now it's 0.19 or thereabouts.
Well, so, to be honest, I've just left it. Let me even check. I've just left mine.
So I learned that they are trying to develop their own blockchain and try to also, this is in some other exchanges. But I think some guys were able to sell at maybe $8 around the time it was listed on Latoken exchange.
Well, the reason I wasn't really keen about it was because it's one of those investments that I was just wanting to hold for like 3 or 4 years before looking at it. And the reason that I say that is because some of these projects, you won't see the value in them until a few years down the line. That's when you realize that, oh, this thing is actually, there's actually some serious stuff going on there. As a result, and because it's minting, it's producing the token. So if they eventually develop their own blockchain, they will probably do a swap. And when you do a swap, legacy holders usually get to cash out a lot. Like those guys, I didn't know that they listed on any token. Like those guys that went to, if they list on another major exchange in the future, for instance, they'll probably give people opportunity to cash out. A good example was a token called Midas. Somebody introduced me to Midas in 2020. I got I got it very cheap. In fact, it was one of the deterrents for me. They were doing staking, but one of the deterrents for me then, because it was almost like a KYC, referral-based token at the time, so I didn't take them seriously. But I left it there. That Midas token went from, I don't know whether it was 3 cents or 10 cents. It went to like 20 or 27 or $37.
Yeah.
In fact, I just sold it off like 5 weeks ago. And I'm like, how much money did I even put in this whole stuff that, so there's some tokens like that, there are tokens that I bought on CRO DeFi ecosystem that I just locked them up for 4 years. Because I know that whatever happens, there is no amount I can put in the bank account that would equate to that in 4 years' time. So some of them are. So yeah, it's possible. I'm just checking my Zenith backend now. I'm seeing that I've actually accumulated like 4,000 coins. But I'm not hoping to sell now. I'm hoping to sell next season. So I'll probably wait for then. personally.
Doctor,
And
send the postcode this email.
All right. Check your WhatsApp number.
Eh?
Check your WhatsApp. I've sent it.
okay. So any other question before I call it a day? All right.
Yeah, just to buttress what you said on the Midas something, it was more or less like a miracle avenue kind of, because I remember when it was mentioned to me as well, $300, only for us to just wake up and discover that, I want 100x T, Dr. Demi, sorry.
Yeah, it actually did. I can't even remember. To be honest, I don't remember how much I put in it, but it was very negligible.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've cashed out thousands of dollars from that particular platform in the real sense of it. So there are many opportunities like that that will come during the bear market. Some of them will look unserious. Some of them will be projects that are just trying to gain popularity. But it's important to understand that some of them do actually have, potential. Anyways, that will be all for tonight. Catch up again next week, and do have a lovely weekend, everyone. What's this? When do you think? Oh, sorry, guys. I have about. Oh, I didn't realize that I had about 2 questions. So one was, any hope for Algorand? Algorand is a good project, I must say.
Yes.
They don't have what we call pumpamentals in terms of people making a lot of noise about them, but yeah, it's a good project. I think it's going to be around in the next run. It is going to moon, I don't know. But yeah, if you want to accumulate Algorand, if you have it, I would suggest you keep it. Algorand is it's a solid project, and because they are doing some real life stuff, just like VeChain, for instance. VeChain is now embedded in supply chain applications, so they are doing real life stuff. You said, okay, I have 2 questions here. When do you think we'll reverse? Do you see us touching 10K? Do you think Bitcoin will ever see all-time high of over 70K? Bitcoin is going to hundreds of thousands in the next cycle, definitely. All-time high is very close by. Just the same way people didn't believe. In fact, let me put it this way. Coming into 2020, people who are hoping that Bitcoin will do an all-time high of 25 or 30K, and that will be it. That was the talk on the market coming into 2020. I just need to put that into perspective for everybody. So then everybody was like, Bitcoin is already high. The best we can do is 30K. In fact, people who are saying 50K then were considered as delirious. That Bitcoin was going to get 50K. People are like, no, that's completely perfect. Bitcoin almost touched 70K at the end of the day, even though it was still technically truncated. But it could have gone to 100K if it wasn't truncated that way. So definitely all-time high beckons. I'm not sure. In fact, if you didn't have all the scenarios that we have now, inflation, war, and all this stuff, we were almost going to get into some sort of a super cycle. But then that would degrade traditional finance very quickly. Personally, I think they had seen the handwriting on the wall and they decided to do something about it. But they just delayed the evil day. But that's a discussion for another day. When do we reverse? I think second quarter will be better than now, generally speaking, in terms of price of Bitcoin. Why? Like I said, production cost of Bitcoin is now, Algorand is one of the sponsors of FIFA 2022. Yes, I know they were doing a lot of partnership stuff. They were also doing something in partnership with something in a country in the US, and a company a part of a government in the US or something like that. So they're definitely a good project. I was going to say something, I think, about reversal. Yes, I was going to say that I think we're going to have a better better second half, because technically speaking, we have dumped for the most of this year. mean, where is 2022? This is 2022. This is where we were at the beginning of the year, essentially. So from then till now, we've just gone down. So let me put it at, so this is December, this is January. So from here to where we are now, we've dumped almost 50%, we've done 47% from beginning of the year. So worst case scenario is 20K. Will it get to 20K? I don't think it'll get to 20K. It'll probably be like 22K before it starts to turn around. Will it turn around very quickly? I'm not sure. The number of dependencies. So, for instance, Russia decided to stop the war. US decided to stop rate hike because we entered into recession in Q2. A number of dependencies. If those dependencies happen, then you can expect that we'll see a stop to decline and the price will start to rally. Will it get back to all-time high this year? I can't say, but it's something to consider because, and I mean, there are a number of stuff that makes me say that, but it's something to consider. So where's the? Oh, she's not showing up. I don't know. I wanted to show you the production cost and show you where we are relative to production cost. Essentially, we are deep inside the production cost of Bitcoin right now, which makes it untenable for, okay, maybe I should use this. It makes it untenable for miners to sell their Bitcoin. So if miners are not selling their Bitcoin, then it means that it's only the exchanges and whales that have their Bitcoin. Trading is always doing this crazy thing now when I'm projecting. Anyways, I'm not going to be able to show that, unfortunately, but I wanted to show you there's an indicator on TradingView that's able to show where the production cost is. The last check was at 3,900. So the production cost is higher than the current market price. So it's not a sustainable development, if I must put it that way. So the price is bound to rebound, but before it rebounds, like I said, I think we might see 23K, to be honest. All right, that's it for the day. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you again next week. I don't know if I will have time for Twitter Spaces on Monday. If I do have time, I will let you know. We can catch up on Twitter Spaces for some chit chat, as we say in London. See you next week, everyone. Have a lovely one.